Hello and welcome to another Icing on the Career Cake from DCT Recruitment. And today we have special guest, not Gregg, Gregg Foreman. Hello, Gregg. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing, UK?
Yeah, fine, except I need to put my teeth back in.
I was just going to say the same for your teeth in time.
It's a long day. It's been a long day. Gregg, let's start today's proceedings as we mean to go on. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So yeah, I'm Gregg Foreman. I'm creative director at Force Studio. So I work for a design studio that we help and deliver craft brands for ideally luxury brands across property, hospitality, and within the lifestyle area space.
Right. Well, I think we better start with the beginning of that because some people might not understand what craft brands are. So let's dissect that. What's a craft brand?
So more like a crafting of brands in a sense. So like I will work with a variety of different brands on the shape, look, and feel. So whether that be their logo, the tone of voice of how they say things across different channels, right through to capturing, video photography and right up to the website and stuff like that. Designing and building that, making sure that we are the kind of one-stop shop in a sense for luxury and prestige brands.
That's cool. Now, I'd hazard a guess that the biggest problem that you have is that people don't either know exactly what they think that their voice is and their brand is, but it doesn't actually work, or people don't know what on earth their brand is at all, and can't even tell you what their business is. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with myself, it's like that's a recurring issue with clients or prospects or conversations with people. I started talking to someone last year. They've been in business for 18 months, and they've had a historic career in the luxury arena. They had a logo, they had a website, and everything was functional. And I kind of had a conversation with them and asking they poking them with a few different questions of how do we say this? How does this look on email? How does this look across social? How do we yes, you've got a website, but what else have you got? And it's kind of that's enough, isn't it? Kind of thing. So for me, what then kind of our role is to then come on board and kind of understand and educating clients in all honesty to kind of say, well, by having this, if you want to look like the likes of Rolex or I was going to say Jaguar, but again, there's a lot of stuff about that in the press at the minute. But I think for me, it's just making sure that they look, for every touch point that they kind of have, it's seamless across all. So yeah, tone of voice is a massive one that people kind of, they don't understand, as kind of touched on before. So they don't necessarily understand what that is. And I think what we kind of do is take people through those kind of workshops. So people can always say, and I've had it like CEOs can be there and in kind of meetings. I'm not creative. I don't know this. I don't know tone of voice. It's not for me. It's for our marketing people. But for me, it's kind of what we then do is we kind of take through a journey of like workshops and try and by the end of these workshops, they are creative and all of their output is very methodical and can be boring to them. But it kind of the way we kind of get things through, it creates a beautiful output so we can then build a stronger brand and push their brand and services forward.
Right, I'm going to throw Diane in at the deep end right now. Right, what's your tone of voice?
My tone of voice is that we want to make a difference.
Okay, so how does that manifest itself, do you think?
Because we're helpful. We go the extra mile. We do things a little bit differently as a recruitment company. We try and do a lot of like on the job evaluations before people actually get hired for the job. Like I'll ask the clients to give like people projects to do before they actually hire them. So you're testing people a little bit more. So it's a bit more methodical because we want to get it right the first time rather than having to go back and back. So the right candidate will be fine with any of that, because a lot of people can say, oh, I can do X, Y, and Z. like I'm really good on Excel, and 3, 4, 5 weeks in, they still can't do the basics. So, if you do a little test in the interview or whatever, just show me how you'll put them invoices on or whatever. Like we've got an engineer, project engineer now, and, they're quoting a job up for the client. So, just making the process, seamless really for everyone, because it's not good for either candidate or client, going into the wrong role and it being not a smooth transition for anyone. So, yeah. And then, we just go the extra mile and push things a little bit harder.
Have you got any observations of Diane's output?
No, I was going to kind of interrupt. I think for me, it's like any business, there's shed loads of them across the globe, that do what we all do, and I think it's kind of, I've met Diane a good few times, and she's they told me everything about DCT and obviously what they are about, and I think for me, it's just a matter of I know and I feel that when the passion when I talk to Diane, and I think it's all about that. Yes, there is a lot of recruitment companies that have that really bad reputation, and I think that is kind of a part of a tone of voice that you never want to be within that category. And I think, going that extra mile of, you've got your clients of who you're kind of trying to fill a job for, and then you've got the candidates, so you've got those two, but it's got to be seamless, that approach. And I think it's, by even doing the tests and stuff like that for them, that screening, that means a lot that's less of a headache for those clients that you're working with. So you can kind of go, well, this is the capabilities of this person or what have you. So I think for me, tone of voice wise, in a sense, I think, it's the way you kind of push yourselves out, whenever I see yourself or whenever you push stuff on social or whatever like that, it is consistent. And I think that's like DCT, the logo itself, I've seen it in a lot of different events and stuff like that. And I think it's consistent. And I think that for me is, part of the tone of voice. It's all about just keeping that consistent voice, that message, so how to say things. So when we're offline and talking about to other people, that I've worked with this awful recruitment company, but then I've got this great one, which is DCT, that I'd recommend you to. So yeah.
But that's why he called it delivering keys together, because everything what I've just said is it's about the journey of all three parties working together. There should be no hidden agenda. There should be no sudden surprise or anything. As little as, sending a labourer to site, asking the site manager specifically, what will they be doing? Just general labouring. Yeah, but some labourers won't want to clean the canteen or the toilet or the welfare centre. Some won't want to carry plasterboards up the stairs. Some won't want to do X, Y, and Z. Whatever it is, does that make sense? So the more information you get about whatever role, then it's all about communication, and it's delivering that communication effectively. So 1, you've got to obtain it from the client, and 2, you've got to pass it to the candidate. Because I know myself, if anything has gone wrong, I'll look back and analyse it, and I'll go, do you know what, probably I never communicated that side of it myself, because sometimes you think you have, don't you, in your head, because it's second nature to you, especially when you're filling a number of roles a lot of the time and you've got the conversation over and over again. But then when you look back, you think, I don't think I did say that to them, so that's why that has happened. So that's what we pride ourselves in, as fully understanding all aspects of the role, so you can communicate it so nobody is got any surprises, because it's about managing expectations at the end of the day.
Yeah, for me, I love the whole delivering careers together piece, because and I love the fact that actually there's a massive thing around collaboration in there. And for me, with you, when we talk about it in terms of the writing of content for yourself, etc., it's partly to do with the fact that it's not just candidates and where the candidate is going for the job as well. It's all of the other partners that you bring into that as well. You involve you get yourself a little bit down to dirty with the whole process, which is great, which I don't think a lot of recruitment companies do, and that's what makes it stand out. The fact that you're really interested in career progression, you're interested in training, you're interested in, you know, other areas like apprenticeships and whatnot, and you showcase all of the options and work with all of those different stakeholders as well, and you know, introduce all of those different values, which ultimately you don't profit from all of those, but ultimately you do, because I think as part of the brand, what people see is that you are totally invested, and so the whole collaboration piece is massive for you, which is great. And where do most people go wrong, Greg? Is what I was going to ask. Where do most people go wrong in their putting together of their brand?
Right now, I think it's, you know, I've been in the industry 19 years this year, I think, in the industry doing what I've been doing.
He doesn't look old enough, folks, by the way, if you're listening to this.
And for me, it's
in regime.
So for me, when I started, it was kind of, you know, on the tools, doing everything I possibly could, and there wasn't that, you know, there wasn't really YouTube, there wasn't nowadays Canva, there wasn't, you know, you couldn't do a build websites within a click of a button and stuff like that. So, you know, I built my first website in '98, and for me, it was kind of that was like, you know, on front page, doing all, you know, there's like Dreamweaver and all this kind of stuff. So I was building all those kind of things, and I think for me, it's how can I say it? It's like I wouldn't, if I've got the tools, I wouldn't go and build a bathroom and put a toilet in and stuff like that. I've got all the tools to do it, but I'll go give that to a plumber to do, because they've got the expertise and they can do a great job. And I think right now, I think it's a lot easier, and I think brand is becoming a lot more disposable because people can do it, and people have marketing execs that they are the designers that aren't, you know, they've got no experience, but they can use Canva templates, they can regurgitate other things, which is absolutely fine. But it's understanding that you just look like that other person that's doing the same kind of thing, obviously changing colors and stuff. But for me, it's just making sure that if you are doing that, it's making sure that it's completely different in a sense, and you've got that consistency of what, you know, if it's posts or it's email or whatever it could be. I think just making sure that it's consistent, but it's not at the expense of yourself. And I think for me, the big, there's like a stat that, like, I think like 95% of people's first impressions are design related. So, you know, if you fall onto a website, and yes, you could have built it yourself, but how is that going to resonate with that consumer that you're trying to, you know, sell to, or whatever that could be? So again, it really depends on the discipline that you're in or the sector. But I think for me, it's just a matter of doing a check of kind of saying, our competitors are Rolex. Do we look like we're part of that family, or do we just look like we are a one-man band on the corner of a, you know, side street? So again, it's trying to understand that, because I think that's one thing that I've kind of understood over the past few years. It's a kind of like hanging around with the clients that you want to do business with. Yeah. I think that, you know, I've saw Diane at a few different events, but I used to, 3 years ago when I started out, I was going to every single event that was possible, was there, you know, that was available to go to, and then came up to a realization that it's great to meet new people, but are these the people that I want to be doing and growing my business, you know, with? And I think that's where I'm going off topic here, but that's how kind of things for myself have changed. And again, it's, if people are, you know, with their brand or whatever like that, it's just making sure, just taking a step back. And
can I just interject, Greg, though? I don't think that is off topic, because I actually was having that conversation today with someone about, I was the same as you. You know, I come into Liverpool, nobody knew who I was, and I come in with a business. So I had to get around everything. I had to see everything. And then you learn what works, what doesn't. But also, if you look at the people who you want to become, or the people who are more successful, well, they are less available, you know. So you also have to look at, you know, brand, is your logo, it's that, but it's also you, your personal brands. You know, when we used to teach that, we teach the managers of, you know, you'd have brand A is being a manager, but your brand B is you know, who's Diane, who's the person, you know. And where you go and where you position yourself. You know, very often you hear, you know, surround yourself by the people you want to become. And well, I think that's totally on point with brand, because it isn't just looking pretty and logos and stuff. And me and Graham have done a lot with that with our brands, haven't we, Graham? Like, you know, we started just with like what we did as a business, and then now we've moved into like, you know, trying to educate people of things around, like, you know, looking at where the construction sector's going, what's going on in hospitality, and becoming an expert in them fields to educate people. So hopefully then people do come to you for that advice, you know, and
you know your stuff. You know,
yeah,
that's it, isn't it? You know,
yeah, exactly. You know, we'll help people write the CVs, for instance. I've never done that. Because there's only way to start, and I can relate to that. I paid to get my CV done, believe it or not, when I left the Golden Arches, because I'd never needed to do it, so I didn't need to know how to, and now I can help people do it. So anything's teachable. You can learn anything in life, you know, you just got to put your mind to it. But yeah, you know, you're completely right, is, you know, you should go to the expert of who does that. And I could imagine your job to be very hard to get people to understand why they need you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like, it's black and white. You know what a recruiter does. That's it. Fact. You know what I mean? I think it's, you recruit people. That's it. I think with me, in a sense, is, you know, in like a design agency kind of thing, it's because I've had that exposure in various disciplines. So I think I touched on before, like video, photography, web, motion, brand, graphic design, all of the different things. And some people could kind of say, well, I want someone who knows just who's got one discipline. Whereas for me, because I've been exposed to it, it's kind of, I'm not saying, yeah, I'm great at it all, but I think for me, it's some people kind of know you need just one, you know, one specific niche. And I think for me, it's because I've been exposed to it. It's just a matter of that's what it is. And I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, that's probably a great way you can come in. I just don't know where.
Yeah, I think I mean, I completely resonate with that, because I think when people talk to me about what I do, it's not, I'm not an orange sock type of business, right? Because, and that's what I call them, by the way. Orange sock businesses are those businesses that are really clearly defined and actually very easy for everybody to understand, because they sell orange socks or other you know, garments are available, and companies like that, you know, it's really easy to know where you go with it, because they can put stuff out there and go, well, you know, do you like orange? Do you like socks? Well, we've got orange socks, and you know, if you fit the demographic, then they're going to be, you know, a potential choice for you. But I take clients on a journey, and I'm very multidisciplined in terms of the skill set that I've got, and I do lots of different bits and pieces for people. So therefore, it's quite complex. But I'm going to come back to what you were saying earlier, and touch on what Diane said as well, which is interesting, this whole personal brand bit, because I think that's one of the things that we have seen is the growth of personal brand. And for me, what it took me a little while to think about and sort of nail was actually, because of the type of business that I am and doing the type of work that I do, I am the brand.
Yeah.
Right. Now, a lot of people say you shouldn't say that. You're not the brand. The brand is the brand. But I think it depends on what you do. And for me, across like multiple platforms, I have different branding on different platforms, because I'm trying to achieve different audiences on those different platforms. And what I try and do is migrate people from different platforms into different spaces. And I achieve that.
Yeah.
Right. So I almost see different platforms as different sort of landing spaces for me. And I pick people up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, within that, I think, you know, in previous kind of tasks or role jobs that I've kind of done is that working with some really big brands, so the likes of Rally Bikes, Sykes Cottages and stuff like that. And there's Little Mistress, which is a fashion brand, and what we kind of did is we worked with them on not one kind of campaign fits all. So for us, it's like, if you were doing something, we want to advertise a dress for Little Mistress, that we'd capture and do a creative for Instagram, and then we'd do a completely different thing that's native to like TikTok. So we kind of help them build their channel on TikTok. So again, but making it feel native and real. So I think that's kind of really important to kind of, again, you can get that similar thing that people can kind of go and just push out, just regurgitate it, because it looks, I've done it once, so it'll do. Let's just put it across so we are visible. But again, that's one thing I do say to clients, is that you don't always, if you're not doing a great job, or you haven't posted something for the past 6-12 months, get rid. I don't feel there's any, you're not using it to the advantages that you could be. Yes, you could upscale and start doing it, but if you're not doing it now, I think just focus on just one avenue, that is LinkedIn or whatever it could be. But yeah, I think I've kind of got the thoughts back from what Diane said as well. I know, Graham, about the selling of stuff like that. And I think you did actually kind of touch on the multiple like discipline and stuff like that. And I don't go in to sell in a sense. I think for me, I just have a conversation with people, and I think going back to the different disciplines, there's a lot of that I can kind of do. If I kind of said to you, I'm Gregg Foreman, I've got a digital brand agency that does marketing, all these different things. I don't know, I can't use you because there's too many things. So I think for me, it's understanding what problems are you having at the minute, and then from that was just the simplest one, or who are your aspirational the brands that you're looking for, or you want to kind of, what's your plan over the next year, and then building a solution for that. So it's not kind of, come on, we'll sell you you need a brand, you need a website, or we'll get you some video, we'll do this. It's kind of, well, to be fair, and I've done it a good few times, some people say, well, we've got this amount of budget, and we'll kind of go, well, I'm not going to rinse you for it all. What we'll do is we'll make sure that we use it as hard as it can. So whether that be, there's different ways of capturing footage, or there's different ways of capturing this or that. And I think for me, it's just understanding and just talking to people like we are now, and then kind of just creating a solution for it, whatever that may be.
That's very similar to what we would do though, Greg. Like I always say that to people is, look, going back to the fact that there can be horror stories within the recruitment industry. I'm like, look, just let us come and have a chat. Like, let us come and see, the risk, there's no cost for anyone to sign up to us, you know what I mean? The risk is all ours. So, you get a client, we advertise a role, we send CVs over. There's no payment till the person goes into work. Does that make sense? So you might as well just see what we can do. You can test the water a little bit. That might be a bit harder for you, or you may have like some little temporary things you can do for people quickly to show what it could look like. But, people can do that with us, because, I'm the same. I never think like, oh, I'm selling. I just go in and think, how can I help? Whether that be now or a year or 2 years, it doesn't really matter.
I always, again, I'm going to bring it back to this. I always see it as collaboration. I think I'm going to stick my neck out here. I did some sales training with some highly qualified sales people who've been at it for like 40 odd years, and are experts of selling recently. And I gave them a bit of a grilling, and I said, because we were templating and trying out a podcast format, etc. And I said, what's your purpose for this? Where's the purpose? Where's the end goal? Where's the output? Where's the, what are you trying to achieve with this? Where's the pipeline? And they were like, don't know. It's like, so why are you doing it then? Where do you want to end up? I'm a massive advocate for reverse engineered marketing.
Yeah.
Right. I think you have to know where the end point is. Where are you trying to get people to? What does that look like? and when you get there, what does that feel like when it's successful, and what does it feel like when it's not successful? So you can try and replicate that as many times as possible, and put yourself into a decent situation. And actually, if you think about it, if it's 9 times out of 10, when it feels good, etc., it probably never felt like a sale. Didn't feel like a sale. It felt like collaboration. It felt like a conversation. It felt like a natural progression, and it felt like a relationship. And that's where people are trying to go. And one of the things I was reading the other day, I think it was at the beginning of the year, was that actually the big focus will be for 2025 when it comes to marketing will be community and growth of community. And I honestly do believe that's true, because I think we are reaching an almost saturation point on a lot of social media now.
Yeah.
And I think that means it's becoming harder for people to understand how that works for them. But actually, if you can see it, that what you're using out there in terms of all of these different avenues is a conduit to creating your community and knowing how you develop your community and then give value to within your community, that's what works.
Yeah, and I think, to echo that, I think I'm at the minute working with, there's a footwear brand that I'm working with at the minute, and then on separate, a restaurant, and both of them, they're nameless. Well, they've got a name and everything like that. We're building it at the minute, but I've just kind of said, create get an account on Instagram and let's build a community. And I think don't have to share what it's called, or you have to just share of what your aspirations are of we wanted to do this, and we want to have a sustainability level of X, and then when the time is right, once we've built that community of people, then we go, and here's the product we've got. Because I think the people are buying in of these different things. If it's the restaurant is got this, whatever it could be, it's just a matter of kind of making sure that we can kind of people understand, that can resonate to, they want to know and be involved in all of these hints and tips that you're creating. They can do that. And again, community is obviously originally was in person, people can go out there and do stuff, but I think that is as important now, to go out and talk to people. And I think that's, I was with one of the clients yesterday talking about coffee cups. So they're wanting to be really super sustainable. They're looking at these coffee cups that are kind of like a plastic, and then they were comparing them to kind of pottery or the normal ceramic, and they were like, "What do you think? What's the difference?" I was like, "I think this one," but ask them. Ask the community if they're going to be coming in to buy from you, a coffee or whatever it could be. It doesn't matter what you want. It's go and ask them what they like, and if they would like it, then because sometimes I always say with my wife is that the container or the decanter of everything, if you get a pint or you get a glass of wine or whatever it is, I feel that it's always, or a coffee, it's always within it. It makes it feel a lot better when you're drinking it from a better source. So for me, again, throwing it back into the community for them to answer those questions. And if they say, no, go away from this sustainable plastic one, let's go for the ceramic. Again, all about community and kind of getting back into it and talking to one another.
Yeah. And it's about being clever within that as well, I think. I'm a strong believer. I do a music podcast, and one of the reasons I do it, here's a first, but one of the reasons I do it is because I actually believe that musicians can teach you an awful lot about business and building community and things like that, which I think a lot of business books can't. So I'd honestly say if you want to read a good business book, then go and read a great autobiography by a musician that built it up from nothing, because it will tell you a lot about how they build their fan base and how they built community.
Yeah,
but some of the,
it gives you the sense of purpose, though, doesn't it? So going back to why are we doing it, or what's the purpose?
Yeah.
Having a community and strong following, then that gives you the sense of purpose for your business as well.
Well, I'll give you a really good example. I spoke to a young musician called Beth McCarthy. Now, she's got about 500,000 followers on TikTok. She's built up a really decent community on TikTok and Instagram, etc. She had along the way, she's had little bolsters to that, which have been really useful. So she was on The Voice when she was 16. She did quite well on The Voice. That kind of obviously amplified her community and really bolstered her network, etc. But when you look at some of the stuff she does, and I've talked to her about that at length, that pull people in, it's about associating or creating association between her output, if you like, and the community that she's trying to attract in. And she does it in very clever ways. For example, she had a song called What Do You Call It? And she would repeatedly go to public spaces where her kind of fans would be. And she would be doing little sort of mic interviews with people where she would sing the first line of the song and then say, what do you call it? It is you. And then get them to talk about themselves and how they identify as themselves. Now, that's really strong, because what it's doing is it's getting the audience to identify with the product, as it were. Right. And then other people then go, oh, yeah, I identify with this product. And of course, then every time that happens, the stream of the song goes up as well, because people go, right, this is brilliant. This song is something for me. So I identify this way, etc. And it raises the game, and that off the back of that, she's had American tours, and she's had, she's had big tours as support artist in the UK, etc. And she's slowly but surely progressing up that career path. And I just think, business people need to learn from what they can see out there, other people doing as well. It's and it's difficult, because actually we do know that if you talk to some of the experts, especially on platforms like Instagram or TikTok or whatever, they'll tell you that to go viral, what you've got to do is you've got to put down creating content that you like and make the content that your audience likes. Right. Yeah. And to some extent, that means cookie cuttering what's already popular and making it for yourself. However, if you can start with something incredibly creative in the first place and set the trend, then, but it's difficult to do, but you have to have really creative people around you in order to get that going. And I hasten to say that I don't think many businesses will have that element of creativity within them,
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's I think going back to your point before, again, it's about like people, that kind of that career ladder as well. I think is a good few jobs ago, I was art director at an agency in Chester, and I think for me, there was a junior I was talking to. They'd been in 6 months. They'd been in the job, and they were just like, I just want to have your job, kind of thing. And it's like, which is great, it was a great job to have. And I think for me, it's kind of like, well, I've done it for X amount of years. Yes, obviously these people have like on social and stuff like that can kind of instant, overnight success kind of thing. And yes, you've got to be super disciplined and super awesome at your job to kind of get to that overnight success or chance or luck. But for me, I think it's just a matter of, I just remember it so vividly when he asked me, because I kind of was taken back by it, because he's only like 6 months into his role and into a junior. It's kind of like, well, you've just got to work. You've got to put time. You just got to put time and make and just be a sponge and take it all in, kind of thing. But yeah, I just think it's so, for me, it's so important. I wish if I could blink and it'd be, I am where I am today, within a 6 month period, kind of thing, from being a junior to where I am, it would be an absolute dream. But 9 times out of 10, that's not going to happen, is it? You've got to kind of work from something and keep going.
Can I ask a question? Because, and this one does fascinate me, which is that I believe that you've got to be bold these days if you're going to be successful, especially on things like social media, etc. But I think one of the areas where people get that sort of mistaken is that they think that means I've got to be loud, etc. I don't think you necessarily do. I think you can be, professional and relatively quiet and still be successful. But I think one of the big areas where you do perhaps need to be bold is thinking about who amplifies your voice. And that may not necessarily be where you think it is. I'd love your steer on that, because, you know, one of the things that I've said to clients before now is, have you considered doing stuff with your competition? Have you considered doing stuff with other stakeholders that, you know, perhaps don't necessarily seem to fit the mold of who you should be having conversations with within your business? And they're like, oh goodness, I daren't, you know, do stuff with competition. And yet, I mean, we had it last week when I did a podcast. We had 3 people on, and they all did the same job. Right? They're effectively competition to each other, and yet, they were really, you know, by coming together and stating the case and stating the need for, right, it actually just amplifies, and then it's down to you to be the best person there, isn't it, or the person that's making the connections there. But I don't think you can hide away in 2025.
No, there's a quote that I saw recently. It's not necessarily a quote, but it's like, the best known beats the best. That's it. And I think when I heard that, it's kind of like, it's just a matter of being visible. I think that's the biggest thing, is being visible. Yes, there's always someone better than every one of us. Do you know what I mean? I think that's you know, that's life. I think for me, it's just a matter of that visibility and being authentic. And you know, going back to like the personal brand stuff, is for me, I'm not one to kind of go on and sift through my, you know, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, but I'm not one to kind of go, yeah, how many likes have I got? How many comments? You know, all that kind of stuff. I just kind of post it. This is my thoughts, and this is what I'm up to. Send. And, you know, if I get, obviously, engagement, that's great. But for me, I'm not necessarily there for the likes. And again, you know, it's a massive thing at the minute. And obviously, with across the whole of social, with obviously younger generation, well, everyone really is kind of, they're just so involved, and it gets to them a lot more that they want to have those amazing likes, and, you know, people sharing it and posting it, reposting it, all this kind of stuff. And I think for me, it's just it's that authentic self, isn't it? Just making sure that message, again, goes back to what, you know, was mentioned first of all with Diane and DCT. It's kind of just being authentic and being consistent, because, you know, you're going to get caught out. You know, if you're
totally right on that. Like, we don't get hundreds of thousands of likes or anything like that, do we, Graham, on stuff? However, I know when I speak to people, like, oh, you're always everywhere, everyone knows who you are now, so I totally agree with you. What I've built everything on is that visibility, because that then gives you your credibility, which will bring you your profitability in the end, do you know? So, you know, if you suddenly start not showing up and stop having that consistency in life, then the lack of trust will come in, you know, quite quickly. And it's so hard to build that up, that if, you know, for instance, fast forward 5 years, if we're, you know, where we want to be, and and we suddenly stop doing everything, I bet you very quickly, within a few years, you'd go completely backwards. Does that make sense? So, you know, you'd have always got to be visible and a bit innovative. You know, that's why I created this podcast. You know, when I was in the network, me and Graham always was doing podcasts, wasn't you, Graham? And Graham always did my social media, and I was like, I haven't got anyone to refer anyone to, because I didn't know anyone. So I was like, what can I do? And that's where this came from. And we called it Ice on the Cake. And I just was like, look, I've got a podcast, you know, it goes on Spotify. I'll go on all my socials, my LinkedIn. So the best I can do is you come on and tell your story. You come on and join it. It's now obviously grown some good arms and legs, and it's great now. And, you know, it's a great thing to be able to have people on like yourself. And I learn, and Graham learns, and, you know, everybody is learning, and it's just sharing knowledge to everyone and showcasing that we are more than just a recruitment company. You know, I want to be seen as a people hub, where anything related to people think it's DCT, or, do you know what, Diane will probably know that answer, or she'll know someone who knows that answer, or she knows that. And then you're helping people. It doesn't have to have a monetary value. It's just, you know, helping people. Like, we've helped people get apprenticeships and stuff like that. We don't get anything back for that, but it's nice to be able to do that, you know, and give back to the community.
At the top, you know, that consistency, you know, posting stuff of where you know, the meetings you've been to, the events you've been to, wherever it is. You may not get engagement on it, or what you'd hoped, or whatever. But it's just being the right time, the right place kind of thing. And like someone can kind of go, we need a recruitment company right now, and it just happened to be there. They're so used to your conveyor belt of posts coming through, which is fine. And I have it the same, is that like if I post something in, like, I can be going to the pub and one of my mates go, I didn't realize you did this, because they've seen it on LinkedIn or whatever it is like that. They've not commented on it. And I get a lot of people do say, oh, I saw you went to this, and it's like, which is great because it's working. So there's like so many people looking at that one said post that you don't actually even know how many are actually looking at it, but they don't want to interact. They just kind of, they read it, take it in, and crack on to the next one. But yeah, I think it's just being, sometimes it's kind of like, I've got nothing to write about, or I've got, just putting something out there so people can, you're waving the flag. We're still here, we're doing what we're doing. And then it's, oh yeah, you need to do, can you help us with this, or can you put us in the right direction of, I need someone to HR, I don't know what it'd be, but you're that kind of cornerstone to kind of help and put people in those places, aren't you? Connect.
I always see everything as a dialogue, and it's sort of within the embodiment of a personality, if you like. And I think that's the really important thing to sort of grow. And it has to have all of the elements that you would want from somebody or a personality in order to create that authenticity. So when Diane puts out posts where she's, doing her Strictly ballroom dancing or whatever, that shows her personality and her generosity and her giving back and all of those things, which is great. And I mean, typically those kind of posts are always going to score highly, and they're going to get shared around because people love that, and it's quite entertaining, and it's and it's personable, and people love personal posts, etc. And then we have posts where we put stuff out where it's based on facts, or it's based on value, and it's giving out information and stuff like that. Now those are never going to do as well, because frankly, a lot of people might see that as boring. However, they see that what you know, and they understand that you're an expert in your space because of those, and so they get remembered. The important sort of element that we do here with the conversations, etc., is that you showcase that that stuff. It's not just being written, but you're opening your mouth and you're answering questions, and people can see you responding to that, and so they know that you know what you know.
And
you put all of that together, isn't it? It's putting all of that together becomes the important bit.
It's that thought leadership, isn't it? Of kind of like, what you know, you want to push it into whatever avenue it is. You do your day-to-day, you do Strictly and stuff like that, you Strictly post and stuff, but then you've also got like, this is fact, this is what's happening, and this is how I can help, or someone's performed and done this, but we've felt that we can help them by X. And I think that's something that, like, I did a I think obviously, Jaguar obviously rebranded. Yeah. Was it like 6 weeks ago, something like that? And they had a really bad press. And I was kind of thinking that people are like, oh, it's dreadful, it's this, that, and the other. All they'd released is the J, and that's it. And then the images, it's like, I thought we were going to bring out a fashion brand, in all honesty, because that's how I thought it was going to go. I was like, you can't complain, you can't rip it apart because you don't know the narrative. I think because they wanted a tease, that's all they brought out, and then they released the a bit more to it. And that, I just was getting really annoyed by certain people kind of saying about this and harping on about X, Y, and Z. So I kind of put a post about what my thoughts of it, and commented on other people's, and it's kind of like, it got a good it got quite a few shares, a few people from like Jaguar themselves like commented on it and stuff like that. So for me, I'm not there just to please people, in a sense. I'm giving them honest feedback about it, but constructive, but all of these other people, these keyboard warriors that just kind of want to put a lot of hate into it, I'm kind of, well, you didn't get the brief. You don't know what they suggested in that boardroom of where and what they want to do. So again, it's all just about,
Do you know on that, Greg? Do you think though, because of how easy it is for people to comment, for people to put the voice out there, that can destroy a brand, you know, because if someone quite influential says X, Y, and Z, it's very common for people then to follow. So people who haven't maybe even got an opinion on it don't care. If I'm totally honest, I didn't even know Jaguar changed the brands. That's how I'm going to open my hands up to that. Didn't know. So thanks for that information. But, you know, do you know what I mean? So if somebody, for instance, didn't have that, but then all of a sudden somebody quite influential says something quite negative, it can destroy it like overnight. Or would you say sometimes, or would you say any conversation is good for the brand, positive or negative? Because you're always
is all press good press sort of thing.
Yeah. That's it's a hard one. Yeah, that's what I've always said about, you know, any press is good press and whatever it's negative or positive. But I think it's just a matter of making everything. You've got a reason for it. So if you can kind of say, you know, we touch on Canva and stuff like that. If they've done it, you know, a designer's put it on, or the marketing execs put it on and done it on Canva, and there's no reason for it, then yeah, rip them. You know, I feel you can kind of, if they've got nothing behind the backstory, then yeah, absolutely. Whereas if they can come in and go, you know, people are kind of dissing them, but you know, as I say, you've got the keyboard warriors that are just kind of, you know, proper hating it. But then if you can kind of go, well, actually, the reasons for us doing that was because of X, Y, and Z, and think, yeah, sometimes you can have those influencers or something like that can absolutely destroy brands, and they can kind of really just, which is really not a great way to be. And I think it's just trying to, it's a lot easier to, people are like sheep, aren't they? They want to kind of just follow that. And I think for me, it's just kind of, all I'd say is for people to kind of, what do you think? You know, I don't worry about that Kim Kardashian or whoever it could be. It's, what do you personally think about it? And what have you done your history about it or your research? Do you know then why they've done it? And if not, I don't feel they can comment on it as much.
I'm gonna put a little thing in here, which is that I think what's really important here is what's the quality, right, in the first place. And this is the thing that you've got to get right as the business. Right, is what's the quality of the thing that you do, right? Because I think you can make bolder moves when you know that what you're sitting on is good, really good, right? As Greg said, you know, when that was teased, it was literally a letter and whatever, right? No one had seen the cars, right? Now, if Jaguar know that they're sitting on really good cars that are going to get, when they get out there, are really good and they're going to get really good reviews, they can be bolder with those moves, right? Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, if people want to drive those really good cars, they're going to suck up whatever changes have been made. Yeah. And actually, it will all get forgotten about, all the negativity, and we're transitioning to Jaguar number 2, you know, or version 2, and you know, all of that negativity will be left behind as we go, well, actually, this is the new dawn of Jaguar or whatever else. But if they're sitting on bad cars,
yes,
that nobody wants, then it's a dangerous move, right? Because you're trying to stick something that, you know, takes away from years of tradition and, you know, people buying from them because they're Jaguar, you know, to sell them something which is lackluster. So the quality of what you do is the most important thing. You have to get that bit right in the business first, you know. And ultimately, I think for me or Greg, probably the thing that we want to look for first and foremost with clients is the quality of what you do great? Because if it's not, I don't really want to be sitting there.
Yeah.
So what's my that I do great then, Greg?
I wouldn't be sitting there doing DCT recruitment stuff if DCT recruitment weren't getting good feedback, weren't getting good, you know, kudos from other people and proving that you do what you do on the tin.
Yeah.
Right. Because for me, as someone involved in that process of taking people to, you know, leading the horse to the water, as it were, you don't want to be sat there using up your creative energy or doing stuff, etc. If you know that that's not the truth, it becomes really hard. And I've had to turn clients down in the past, or I've had to release clients because of that, because actually they said, well, we do this, and it became obvious that they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had to say, right, sorry, I'm going to have to part ways with you now because I can't put my name to that.
I agree with that completely, though, Greg. Like, I one of the things I love now being the business owner is I can choose who you want to work with, and you want to work with clients and companies who've got very similar values to you, so they're very good at giving back to charity, they get involved, they do other stuff than the day-to-day things, all what we're trying to build and showcase. And, you know, thankfully we're doing that, because that's exactly what you both said at the beginning. So thanks for that. I really do appreciate that. So, you know, it proves that, you know, what you're doing is right. But yeah, I totally agree with that. You know, I also think the people you work with demonstrates the brand of who you are as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Greg, you'd say that you know, once you're working with those clients, you become an extension of the team, don't you? So, I mean, it's really important that, you know, you resonate with what they're trying to achieve and what they're doing, and the ethos of that, you know, and you have to have that there as well, don't you? Because, you know, if it's weak, what you're trying to hang everything on, then, you know, it becomes impossible to do your job properly.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's just, for, you know, it's got to have meaning. That's it. I think for me, you know, like I said before, I think everything that's going to be done is, you know, whatever it could be, social, email, web, whatever it could be, brand. It's all, or anything in the world in a sense. It's got to have meaning behind it to kind of push on and make it good. I think, you know, and people to understand it. I think otherwise it's going to, you know, just float away, I think, and they'll be really forgetful very easily.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but apparently this room's been booked out, so we need to vacate.
Oh, that's okay. Well, look at that. I was going to draw it to a close anyway. Well, the moral of the story is what's written on Gregg's wall behind him, which is work hard and be nice to people, because that's a really good way to grow a brand. You know, have that at the center of everything you do. Gregg, it's been a pleasure getting to know you today. Thank you so much for coming and joining in this conversation. Hope you've got something out of it too. Thanks for listening. And we will be back soon with another one of these podcasts. If you would love to come on, do get in touch. We'd love to hear your story and know a little bit more about you. That's what it's all about. We want to share stories and get to know people. Until next time, bye for now.